When you create a new assembly configuration, you also have the option of automatically creating part configurations. While there are many scenarios where this functionality can be of value, it's particularly useful when creating simplified configurations. Assembly performance is always a concern when working on assemblies with hundreds or even thousands of components. Working with these types of large assemblies can be much more efficient if a simplified configuration is used. In this case, I'm using a small assembly, but the procedure I'll be showing you for creating a simplified configuration can be applied to any assembly. Let's begin by examining some of the components in this assembly. Take a look at the lower plate. Notice the small detail work, including engraved text. This level of detail can really slow down assembly performance. We'll be creating a configuration where these small features are suppressed. Back in the assembly, you can see the larger components have small cosmetic fillets. These will also contribute to slowing down assembly performance. Since they're simply cosmetic, we'll be suppressing these as well. Next, take a look at the cap screw. The threads are definitely unnecessary and can be suppressed to speed up the assembly. However, if we look at the Configuration Manager, we can see a configuration called Simple already exists. In a moment, we'll see how this configuration can be activated automatically at the assembly level. Now that we've seen the various improvements we can do in order to make this a more simplified and faster performing assembly, let's add a configuration where the simplified version will be created. In the Configuration Manager, I'll right-click and select Add Configuration. The configuration name will be Simple. Next, I'll skip down to the Parent-Child options. Here, you'll find the name of the assembly, along with a listing of each component used in the assembly. Any component you select in this list will also have the new configuration added. The new configuration will have the same name as the assembly configuration I specified above. I'll select every component except Handle Shaft. I'll click OK to create the new configurations. SOLIDWORKS will display a warning indicating that a configuration named Simple already exists for both the cap screw and locking handle. Now keep this in mind. For now, I'll click OK, and you can see the new configuration is added. If I click over to the Feature Manager tree, notice next to each component, the name of the configuration Simple is listed. Every component, that is, except the handle shaft, of course, which I purposely excluded. As you saw a second ago, SOLIDWORKS detected that the cap screw and locking handle already had a configuration named Simple. Rather than creating new configurations, SOLIDWORKS automatically activated the existing Simple configuration. This automatic behavior saves you the trouble of having to activate these configurations yourself. It also opens the possibility for you to standardize on a special configuration name, such as Simple. By standardizing, each time you or your colleagues create a complex component, you can also generate an alternate configuration that uses the standardized name. When these complex components are later used in assemblies, the assembly designer can generate a new configuration using the same name, and all complex components will be automatically simplified. At this point, my assembly is using the correct configuration of all components. However, other than the cap screw and locking handle, which already had simplified versions, the rest of the components must be manually simplified. I'll begin with the saddle. I'll expand it in the Feature Manager tree and suppress all of the fillets used in this part. Next, I'll simplify the lower plate by suppressing the notch and limit text features. Finally, I'll suppress the last couple of fillets in the compound center member. Now I can switch between the default and simple configurations, depending on which version I need.